talk about football.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 15 of the We Like Football podcast. We got a doozy of a football weekend. Very excited to go ahead and talk about it here. I'm Hayden. That's Andy. Buddy, how you doing today?
I'm living the dream, pal. I got a juicy pump on for the folks. I know my peaks were looking flat last week. I apologize for that. We Like Football. Don't you roll your eyes at me. We Like Football is back, and we are fucking ready. Sorry, we are freaking ready to talk about football. We like to do some shout outs most of the time, but I don't have a lot of people to shout out. I like you. I like my girlfriend. I like my mom. Those are the only people that tune in. I guess hi, Tyler, John, Matt, whoever else. But if there's anything I want to shout out today, it's football. Oh, my dear God. That got my endorphins going like no other. What a weekend. Perhaps the best divisional weekend in NFL history. That might be recency bias. I don't know, but boy, I am excited to dive into all the pigskin.
It was just a divine weekend of football. Piggybacking off of you, I also like you and your girlfriend and your mom. Hello to everybody. Shout out to also, I had to pull it up on Twitter real quick. Shout out to Ian-Bithead. That's at Bithead77. I have no idea who this dude is, but every week he puts out a tweet and says, hey, these sports podcasts are really good. And he tags us in them. I appreciate you, Mr. Bithead. Well done on your end. Like you said, good for us, man. The weekend of football was phenomenal. We had 3 walk-off field goals at the end of regulation. Oh, and then the nightcap yesterday ended in just an awesome shot of adrenaline. Can't wait to get into all of these football games here. I guess we could start, and we'll go in order, right? That's typically how we do it. We'll start with the Saturday game that happened first. It was the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. Cincinnati moves on to the AFC Championship game. It's the 3rd AFC Championship game in their history. This one was an awesome way to start off the weekend.
Yeah, to say the very least. Like you said, it's their 3rd appearance in the AFC Championship all time, the first since 1988, so over 30 years. I said it last week, and it rings truer now. These are not your daddy's Bengals. Joe Burrow is as legit as they get. I'm very excited to see how they match up with the Chiefs. But before we get into that, we'll talk about their vanquishing of the Tennessee Titans on Saturday. Some interesting takeaways from that game. To start with, 2 Bengals penalties wound up working in their favor. That's kind of unusual, quirky, worth noting, I would say. They got a delay of game in the first quarter on a 3rd down where Joe Burrow took a sack. So in actuality, it gave them another chance to run a 3rd down play. They picked up some yardage, got into more suitable field goal range for boss Evan McPherson. We'll talk about him a bit more.
Hell yes.
But yeah, so that gave them 3 points in a game. You mentioned they won 19-16. So obviously critical penalty worked in their favor. Another one, they got a penalty on an extra point. I don't remember what it was, if it was offsides or what have you, a Tennessee extra point, I should say, which put them a yard closer, prompted them to go for 2, and they failed. Again, that took a point off the board in a game that was decided by just a few of them. So 2 Cincinnati penalties wound up working in their favor. Interesting, worth noting. Another thing worth noting for the Tennessee side, their miscues were not nearly so fortuitous. Mr. Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions, and all of them were critical, backbreaking in a game that was decided by 3 points. The first one put Cincinnati in field goal range. Then in the second half, they had another in the red zone that cost them a chance at points, obviously. And obviously, the all too critical late pick for Mr. Tannehill, which set Cincinnati up for the game-winning field goal. That last drive from Tennessee, I was really kind of perplexed. It seemed like at first they were being aggressive, trying to drive for a winning score, and then they just started to let clock wind and wind and wind, and then suddenly it was like, oh shit, we got to move, right? And Ryan Tannehill just forced a ball that I forget who it was. If it was, I think Logan Wilson, big playmaking linebacker, came up with a critical pick and obviously put Cincinnati in position to win the game. So I just thought, for a team that had been so well coached by Mike Vrabel all year, this was damning for his coach of the year odds, because that was just baffling to me the way they managed the game at the end.
Yeah, a lot of wildness came from this one. You mentioned Ryan Tannehill, just back-breaking interceptions. His first pass and his last pass were both interceptions. It's not great. It's not a great look. You mentioned that the Tennessee Titans were well coached all year. I feel like when Mike Vrabel handed the keys over to Ryan Tannehill, at least going into this year, he's like, hey, here's AJ Brown, here's Julio Jones, here's Derrick Henry. All you got to do is not, that earmuffs, kids, all you got to do is not fuck it up, right? And then Ryan Tannehill goes out and just is careless with the football. I didn't think it was a good look on him. Something moving forward as well, the Cincinnati Bengals did not stack up front against the pass rush of the Tennessee Titans. Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times. Joe Burrow actually joined Donovan McNabb as the only quarterback to win a playoff game, despite being sacked more than 8 times. That's not a recipe for success that you want to take with you moving forward. Kansas City might get after him a little bit up front, but they won this game, against all odds. So kudos to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, remarkable for Joe Burrow, who's been remarkable all year, obviously, to bounce back from getting walloped all day long, a 9-sack outing for the Tennessee Titans, and to come back and win. But like you said, that's not sustainable. The Chiefs are not short on pass rushers in Frank Clark and Chris Jones and Melvin Ingram. Guys like that are going to be itching to pin their ears back in a game where we might see 100 passing attempts. So I'm curious to see if this is going to be Cincinnati's undoing. But like you said, kudos to them for bouncing back from all those negative plays and finding a way to win the game like they've done all year long. I'll say again, these are not your daddy's Bengals, and I am so looking forward to the AFC title game. We'll talk about that a little later on. But first, we'll dive into the next game on the Saturday slate, one pitting the number 6 seed San Francisco.
Hang on. It's the weekend of the kicker, buddy, and we're just going to gloss over the fact that Evan McPherson is just a fucking beast, right? We can't do that to the people. Evan McPherson is the rookie kicker in Cincinnati. He's out of Florida. Dude has ice in his veins. He's absolutely automatic. He went 3 for 3 in the first half. He had a 38-yard field goal, a 45-yard field goal, a 54-yard field goal, and then, of course, the game winner from 52. He also had a viral video that I didn't catch until this weekend. It was that, the bottle challenge where they have you're supposed to spin the cap off the bottle in the most creative way. He taped the bottle on top of the goalpost while he was at Florida, kicked the ball so accurately that it spun the top off the bottle. That dude has ice in his veins. Big football crush on Evan McPherson.
He went viral again after the game because he supposedly said on the Cincy sideline right before the game winner, I guess we're going to the AFC title game. I mean, goddamn, it's hard not to admire that swagger. Kudos to you, Mr. Kicker. We acknowledge your exquisite performance, and God damn it, I hate the Bengals, but they are a wagon this year. Good for them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I didn't mean to stop you so abruptly. So again, Cincinnati goes on to take on Kansas City. In the NFC, we got a night game on Saturday night. The San Francisco 49ers go into Green Bay, end up beating the Green Bay Packers 13-10. Aaron Rodgers is now 0-4 in the playoffs against the 49ers. That was a pretty wild stat. Also, I don't know if you knew this, but it's cold in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is usually pretty good in the cold in games that were below freezing up to this point. He had a 28-6 record. That drops down to 28-7 now.
Well, that's a lot better than his postseason record of late. Aaron Rodgers is just 7-9 in the playoffs since 2011. That's for one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time. That is far below par. Excuse the hell out of me. I guess we should have on air.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Now, and Aaron Rodgers is taking some heat on social media. Skip Bayless has taken to calling him Aaron Frogers.
Oh. That's pretty lame. That's pretty lame.
This was not the outing the number 1 seed Packers were expecting or hoping for. They were a day late and a dollar short all day long. They opened up with a nice touchdown drive, and after that, the 49ers defense and special teams were all over them. In the final 54 minutes of gameplay, the 49ers gave up under 200 yards and 3 points. They sacked Rodgers 5 times and allowed under 200 yards of offense, like I said, after that opening drive score. That's their defense. Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, a bunch of studs on that defense all over. You mentioned D'Amico Ryans and the job he does. I thought they did well to limit Devontae Adams. He contributed 9 catches, 90 yards. That's a solid outing for Devontae Adams, but we've seen him do much more damage. I thought all day long the Niners D was a step ahead, and it showed. but even more critical were their special teams. That was the difference in this game. 13-10 outing. 49ers defense came up with their lone touchdown of the day on that blocked punt late in the game. That was, I don't often exclaim watching games where I don't have a rooting interest. Like, don't get me wrong, I sit there and watch them. But that blocked punt, I was frantic. I went, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" Like in that moment, what a clutch play by the San Fran special teams unit. Kudos to their special teams coach, Richard Hightower. But again, Aaron Rodgers has been taking some heat. So too has the Packers special teams, and deservedly so. Not only did they have that punt blocked, Mason Crosby had a field goal blocked right before the half. They gave up, I believe, 3 returns of over 30 yards. And this was a 3-point low-scoring game. Giving up those kind of yardage in the return game is kind of like a hidden way that teams lose games in January. And these kind of cold weather, miserable field position games, you can't do that. Special teams were the Packers' undoing a lot this year, and it came back to bite them again in all too important a circumstance.
Absolutely. No, the special teams were terrible for the Green Bay Packers. It was noted all over social media as well that on the final play when Robbie Gould goes in to kick that game-winning field goal, the Packers had 10 people on the field for the most important play of what your season is coming down to. Really not a great look, especially when you have, one of the best quarterbacks, not just of this era, but of all time in Aaron Rodgers, and you're kind of wasting him and what he has to offer. It was a really slow start for the San Francisco 49ers on offense. They had -7 yards of offense in the first quarter. So to go into the second quarter only down 7 was sort of a testament to how well their defense was playing. Also, it was a really weird called game from an offensive standpoint for the Green Bay Packers. I remember sending this to a few folks that the Packers hadn't attempted a pass to a receiver going into the fourth quarter. Right on cue, Aaron Rodgers hit Alan Lazard to make me kind of eat crow and eat my words, whatever. But it was really odd to kind of see how Aaron Jones and the tight ends were sort of utilized in this game. I know the weather was a little crappy. It was a little snowy, but you'd think you'd get more of an air attack from the Green Bay Packers. Also, something to note from this game, Deebo Samuel is good at football. Deebo Samuel is really, really good at football. What he brings to your offense, at any given time with him on the field, you could be in like 3 different personnel. So he could play running back. He could line up in the slot. He can line up as X receiver. Maybe he should try kicking as well. He does everything else so well on the football field. Maybe he should try kicking.
At this point, I legitimately don't know if he's a better back or receiver. But like you said, he's so impressive. The way Kyle Shanahan has schemed him into their offense is a lot of fun to watch, which I find myself saying more than you nowadays. I don't know. Some things I want to note from this game before we move on. You mentioned Robbie Gould, his game winner. I saw a stat. Robbie Gould is perfect in the postseason now. 20 for 20 on field goals, 32 on extra points. The Penn Stater continues to be good as gold. So shouts to him. In the weekend of the kicker, we can't overlook Robbie Gould. Critical performance for San Fran. Another person I want to shout out is myself. Last week, I said, don't be surprised if we see San Francisco upset Green Bay. Sure as shit they did. Kudos to me for knowing football so goddamn well. I can't believe how smart I am. I rock.
Yeah, you are definitely a wagon. I actually saw that in the document. I had to go back and check the tape to make sure that you did actually say that. You did. Kudos to you. You also brought up Tom Brady last week when I totally tuned you out and just kind of stopped listening as I was reading. That's my bad. I'm a teacher. When I start to read, everything else is just kind of noise in the background. But well done. Yeah. Kudos to you. Jimmy Garoppolo moving forward, we'll see if he's good enough to keep them alive, especially next week as they travel into Los Angeles. He was 11 of 19, had 131 yards and 1 interception. Not a great stat day for him. But again, when Deebo Samuel is carrying your team, and then, you can get the ball in Elijah Mitchell's hands as well. And then their defense is playing so well, it might be a tough out for the Rams.
Yeah, he's like the quintessential game manager, so long as he doesn't screw up the defense, special teams, and the offensive weaponry. And Deebo, Eli Mitchell, and George Kittle will keep him in the game. He sure as shit is handsome enough to be a champion. The guy looks like George Clooney and Brad Pitt had a baby. So if handsomeness goes as far as it should. Jimmy Garoppolo will be hoisting a Lombardi come 3 weeks from now, but we'll see. I'm excited to see them reprise their rivalry with the Rams, where they've been dominant of late. We'll talk about that a little more later on. But first, we have to jump into Sunday's action, which let me lead off with holy shit.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I don't smoke, and I felt like I needed a cigarette after Sunday. Friggin' wild.
Yeah, and we started with what looked like it was going to be kind of a dud, with the Rams traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the defending champion Buccaneers, and the Rams continued their dominance from Monday's showing against the Cardinals, which we didn't get to talk about last week. The Rams slapped the Cardinals around. They came out hot against Tampa Bay as well. They opened up a lead of, I believe, 20-3 at the half. They extended that to 27-3 by the end of the third quarter, or 27-6 maybe by the end of the third quarter. And then the wheels just fell off. The Rams went from harassing Tom Brady, knocking him off his spot, leaving him bloodied, battered, and bruised, to being the team that was frustrated, the team that was making critical errors. They fumbled 3 times in the second half, and all of a sudden Tom Brady began to rally, and we thought 27-3 was going to be the next meme, the next 28-3. Tom Brady's going to do it again. I found myself, and obviously as a Steelers fan, I'm supposed to hate Tom Brady. As that game wore on, I found myself rooting for him. I said, sure as shit, Brady's going to do it again. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over here, but I don't know how not to be the way these games played out on Sunday. I'm still just, my adrenaline's through the roof, and I don't like any of these teams.
No, it really was a wild day of football. I wasn't sure that you had heard about the 28-3 game that Tom Brady was a part of and ultimately came back and won. I feel like I saw that literally everywhere yesterday. Avoided that this time with the LA Rams. So this is a wild stat that I saw and I wanted to share on here. Since 2000, Tom Brady himself has more NFC playoff wins at 10 than the San Francisco 49ers, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Giants, the Carolina Panthers, the LA Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers themselves, the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals, the Minnesota Vikings, the Chicago Bears, the Dallas Cowboys, the Washington Football Team, and the Detroit Lions. Mentioned it last week. Tom Brady owns the playoffs. Kind of sad that we don't get to see him moving forward. I know a lot of people are not very sad to not see him moving forward, but we have been really privileged just to be able to watch, again, the greatest quarterback of all time in our lifetimes kind of just do his thing forever. You mentioned he did get bloodied. He got a personal foul. He talked back to the referees a little bit, got a personal foul. This one got a little bit chippy. There was a hilarious sequence of events. I mentioned this a bunch last week. The Rams end up getting a strip sack. I believe it was Von Miller got a strip sack on Tom Brady. And then the very next play, Brian Allen, the Rams center, did his best like Marquise Pouncey impersonation and just snaps the ball into like the Gulf of Mexico. And then they give the ball back to the Bucs. It seemed like the Rams were trying to shoot themselves in the foot and ended up getting out of their own way at the end. It was a crazy day.
Yeah, you mentioned last week, like, momentum is so real in football. It seems like even more so of late. No lead is safe. Like, the Rams came in hot. They slapped the Bucs around. It looked like they were going to have it their way with them. And then when it looked like they were going to stick the proverbial dagger in at half, I believe Cam Akers fumbled on the goal line. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed to turn the tide so dramatically. The second half, the Bucs, like I said, the Bucs trailed 27-3 at the 7-minute mark of the third quarter. And then the wheels fell off for LA. The Rams' next 6 possessions resulted in, and I did the numbers here. I'm not the numbers guy, but once I did, I went, whoa, are you fucking kidding me? The Rams' next 6 possessions with that 27-3 lead resulted in the following: 33 yards of offense, 3 lost fumbles, 2 punts, and a missed field goal. Absolutely nothing went their way after everything did. The Bucs capitalized. Tom Brady threw a dime to Mike Evans for a 72-yard touchdown?
It was. If it wasn't, we're going to say it was, and we'll just keep it as that. It was. He burned Jalen Ramsey on that play. Also, Mike Evans, that is, gets hit late in the game on a 4th and 14. This was a little bit controversial. Eric Weddle ended up getting an unnecessary hit penalty on that play, but they determined that the ball had hit the ground already. So rather than keeping the ball with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The LA Rams actually got the football back and just had it 15 yards back from where they would have gotten it. That was kind of wild. I had thought that, if something happens sort of that simultaneously with the play, that the ball would stay with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A little bit controversial.
Well, last week I remember I was watching Bucs Eagles on the treadmill. I had my head, I work out.
He works out.
I had my headphones in, so I wasn't listening to the game, and I forget who, some DB on the Bucs made a play and then took his helmet off and started celebrating, and he got a personal foul. And I texted you and said something like, "Wow, what a break!" And you said, "Oh, dead ball foul," right? And it didn't even occur to me. So I don't know. Like, it seems like they're calling that more strictly, because I always just kind of thought plays like that were automatic first downs, right? And of late, if the ball's dead, it's not. It's 15 yards going the other way, which I don't hate. It's become more noticeable in these playoffs, I guess. It's not something I recall being called that black or white before.
Yeah, no, and the taunting penalties as a whole, it's so inconsistent. We're going to get into the Bills and the Chiefs game momentarily, but there was Tyreek Hill's kind of putting up the deuces as he's running, past defenders. That's not called, but then like Ndamukong Suh, chirps at Matthew Stafford and gets a penalty. A little bit inconsistent, but such as the NFL, the referees are certainly another human aspect of it. So there was something else I want to talk about. Oh yeah, Cooper Kupp is good at football. Yeah, that's right. Cooper Kupp is good at football. He had 2 humongous catches on that final drive that ended up getting the Rams into field goal range. Honestly, I said it before, but I thought the Rams were going to shoot themselves in the foot. They certainly tried to, and then Matt Gay comes up with the game winner at the end. Cooper Kupp's awesome.
That's we probably should have mentioned the Rams wound up winning this game. I don't know if we stressed that strongly enough. This game was wild. They slapped the Bucs around for 40-ish minutes. The Bucs came all the way back to tie it. We thought overtime was inevitable, and then Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp with under a minute to play. Stafford found him twice for 64 yards and put Matt Gay in position for the winning field goal. I remember watching this last possession for the Rams, and I think they had a negative play the first play. I don't remember if it was a sack, incompletion, run for a loss, whatever it was. But I was watching this with a buddy of mine. Shout out Shark if you're watching.
Shark, yeah.
Shark, I remember saying, like, I like that they're still being aggressive. I like that they're playing to win, especially with all the momentum on Tampa Bay's side. This would have been an all-time choke were it not for Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp kind of showing that resolve. So shouts to them for staving off that colossal choke, not becoming a meme for the next calendar year. What a way to bounce back, because at that point, everybody had written him off. We went, oh, Tom Brady's going to do it again. Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp said, and they knocked the goat out of the playoffs. No small feat. There's 2 ways to look at this. You could say, like, wow, we saw a lot of Rams weaknesses there. We did. We also saw their resolve, and I think that, to me, is more impressive. We're going to need to see it again because, as I've said, San Fran has had their number of late. I'm excited to see how that one plays out. But, I just wanted to shout out Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and just a tremendous bounce back after getting rattled in the last 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay there.
Yeah, that negative play that you mentioned, it was a Matt Stafford fumble that he actually got back on. Like, that's how close it was to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning this game. It really was, it was up in the air at the end. Saw some talk about this could be Brady's last ride. Is there any chance that Tom Brady hangs up his cleats after this loss in the divisional round?
If Tom Brady's the Tom Brady I've come to know and detest and ultimately respect over the last 20 some odd years, no, I can't see Tom Brady leaving any other way than on a stretcher or hoisting a Lombardi. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Brady will say that's enough. I'm going to go hang out with my supermodel wife and eat real ice cream. I don't know. But if I were a betting man, and especially after, maybe I'd feel more strongly if they wound up just getting bitch slapped for the entire 60 minutes. But after they came that close with some critical injuries, I can't see Tom Brady being done on this note.
It does not feel like his legacy and his career is going to end with a loss. I am an admitted football junkie. I've been watching Man in the Arena on ESPN Plus. It's a documentary on Tom Brady. And just something that comes across so clearly in that documentary is that dude is one of the biggest competitors that I've ever seen. He is so competitive. I can't imagine that he hangs it up, especially like you mentioned, them coming within inches of going on to championship Sunday. I don't think this is the last time that we see Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform.
I doubt it. But hey, we never know. We'll certainly be watching that through the course of the offseason. If there's any news to announce, we will announce it far after the likes of Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. Don't follow us for that, but follow us for the invigorating football talk we give you, the invigorating football we react to. If Tom Brady's gone, there will be no dearth of excellent quarterback play in the NFL. If anything proved that, it was Sunday's coup de grace between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. I reacted to that Rams-Bucs game. What did I say? Holy shit. My reaction to that Bills-Chiefs game, holy shit! Are you kidding me?
Just an absolute wild cherry on top of an awesome weekend of football. So over the last year, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs have played 3 times. The total score in those 3 games has been 100-98. It is just awesome that we get to watch the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Honestly, watching that game just made me so thankful because we get to see Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen play for another decade. We are so freaking lucky to be alive in this era of football.
Yeah, we're not going to gloss over the outcome. Let's just get it out in the open real quick. The Kansas City Chiefs, against all odds, wound up winning this one 42-36. There were fireworks galore. Like you said, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That feels like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning on steroids. These two are freaking I'm going to say it again. They're so much fun to watch.
Hell yeah.
It's unbelievable. I said I don't often exclaim or shout when I'm watching games that don't involve my team. The last 2 minutes, I was pacing. I was going ballistic because this game was I don't. It's almost beyond words. This game was nuts. But we're here to talk about it. That's what we do. So let's. Let me calm down. Let's talk about it.
We could, yeah. There was 25 points scored in the final 2 minutes of regulation. This was just wild. We were talking about this game while it was happening, and we weren't even using complete sentences. It was just going back and forth like, holy shit, Jesus Christ, holy shit, oh my God. Like we couldn't even come up with words to describe what was going on in this game. Kansas City is so good with their offensive creativity. This was another game where the offensive creativity got in their way a little bit. They run speed option. It was, I believe, in the third quarter, they lined up their tight end. I don't know his first name, but last name is Bell. Blake Bell, thank you. Goes under center, ends up running speed option on 3rd and 1 and gets stuffed. You do have Patrick Mahomes in big situations, in big spots. Again, I said it last week, but you might want that dude to touch the football. But they ultimately did squeak it out at the end. We needed extra time for this game. It was amazing.
Yeah, we needed more time. The main takeaway for a lot of people is perhaps the overtime rule should be changed because this game did go to overtime. The Chiefs won the toss. It felt very much inevitable that they were going to drive down and score, and they did so. It just almost feels unfair that Josh Allen didn't get a chance to match Mahomes. But then one wonders, because obviously they can't end on a tie, if this would have just kept going, because over the course of the last couple minutes, every time those guys touched the ball, it felt inevitable that they were going to wind up in the end zone, and they did. You mentioned 25 points in the final 154 of regulation. Josh Allen started those fireworks off with a dazzling escape, a prime Ben Roethlisberger-esque escape on 4th and 13 before finding Gabriel Davis alone in the end zone. That put the Bills ahead with 154 remaining. I think all of us watching right then went, uh-oh, right? Because the Chiefs are going to get the ball back with a full complement of timeouts. You wonder if they left them too much time? Hardly. Mahomes answered lickety-split, finding Tyreek Hill on a 64-yard dart, which is where he put up the deuces to Matt Milano while he was behind Matt Milano, right? Matt Milano still had the angle, but Tyreek Hill went, this dude ain't catching me. I'm Cheetah. Ain't nobody catching me. So Tyreek Hill is so fast. He scores, put the Chiefs back up. There's still 1:02 remaining. And now the Bills are going to get the ball back. And again, you go, because Josh Allen is red hot. So is Gabriel Davis. We should mention him. He had 8 catches, 201 yards, and 4 touchdowns, a playoff record. Kudos to Gabriel Davis, made himself some real cheddar in this game. He looks like a weapon for years to come for the Bills. But anyway, sorry, Josh Allen and the Bills get the ball back. They're red hot. They decide they're going to answer KC and do so in emphatic fashion. Josh Allen completes 4 passes for 74 yards in what looks to be the clinching touchdown to who else? Gabriel Davis. The time left, 13 seconds. Now you're not saying, I'm in the group chat. I say to the boys, thank God the Chiefs are dead. I'm still salty about them losing to the Steelers last week. That's neither here nor there. Regardless, the Chiefs take the ball back with 13 seconds, and you go, all right, this should be, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes just completed a ball for how many? Oh my God, they completed another. Oh my God, Harrison Butker just tied the 13 seconds? Are you kidding? I don't know if we could be critical of Buffalo's defense and their decision not to squib kick. There's so many ways to go, but I think ultimately you just have to go, my God, the Chiefs are just unstoppable. You give them the ball with any amount of time and they are never, ever, ever dead. They're terrifying. I tend to ramble, but go ahead.
I am going to be critical about that last kick. You do have to kick the football in the field of play in that spot. You mentioned there's 13 seconds left. The Kansas City Chiefs did still have some timeouts. You need to take time off the clock. You need to trust your kicking team that they're going to go down and make a tackle. If you kick the ball in the field of play, you're giving the Kansas City Chiefs one play where they essentially have to go to the end zone, or maybe one play where they pick up a chunk, kind of like they did, but you don't give them that second play to get Harrison Butker in field goal range. I thought that was a mishap on their end. We got to go back to the final 2 minutes of this game because it really was wild. In that time, Josh Allen was 5 for 7 with 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, this is just the final 2 minutes of the game. Patrick Mahomes was 10 for 13 with 188 passing yards, as well as 2 touchdowns. It was, I said it before, but it was the perfect cherry on top of the Sunday that we got this weekend. Gabriel Davis, you mentioned, shout out to me. I actually played daily fantasy yesterday on FanDuel. Whenever you're playing daily fantasy in one of these games that has so much star power between the Bills and the Chiefs, you're basically picking one star and then throwing a dart at the rest of them. Gabriel Davis was a pretty cheap play. He ended up getting me 48 points. Very appreciative to you, Mr. Davis. Congratulations on your huge night.
Yeah, this game was just bonkers. We could talk about it forever. People are gonna talk about it forever. There's no words to do it justice. The combined quarterbacking performance was just for the ages, unreal. Both these guys. Patrick Mahomes even said Josh Allen played his ass off. The two of them, this is emerging as the next great quarterback rivalry. It seems like it's Manning, Brady, Park Dukes, except both of them can run the hell out of the ball. And just like from an athletic standpoint, these two are some of the most amazing, eye-popping quarterbacks we've seen ever. I'm excited to see their outings in the future. I'm as an unbiased observer, my heart breaks for Josh Allen and Bills Mafia just a little bit. My God, agonizing to come that close and then have it your heart ripped to shreds like that. After saying, thank God the Chiefs are dead in the group chat, the next thing I said was, thank God I'm not a Bills fan. God, that smarts.
It's got to hurt. It's the second year in a row, right? Because the Bills lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year. You also mentioned Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes don't only do it with their arms, they can move with their legs as well. Josh Allen had 11 carries for 68 yards. Patrick Mahomes had 7 carries for 69 nice yards and a touchdown as well. If we got to see that game played every week, we would be super, super fortunate. I feel like that might have been our Super Bowl.
I don't want to discount the Bengals or whomever emerges in the AFC or elsewhere, but you're right. That did feel like a once in a lifetime, oh my God game we're going to talk about for years to come. But actually, we're going to talk about that a little more in our future segment, so I don't want to spoil that. First, we're going to look ahead to next week, the AFC Championship game pitting the Cincinnati Bengals against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the fourth year in a row that the Chiefs will host the AFC Championship. The Bengals, as we've mentioned, are in their first in 30 years. Are you giving them a puncher's chance? They've been hot, but KC has all the experience, the know-how, the big game savvy, if you will. It just feels like the odds are stacked against the Bengals.
Yeah, it's tough not to give them a puncher's chance. Now, at the same time, the Kansas City Chiefs are the Kansas City Chiefs. If I had to pick one of them, I would pick the Chiefs at this point. But Joe Burrow looks like a dude. His connection with Jamar Chase, like we gushed over last week, is just electric. They need to come out. They need to protect Joe Burrow. But if they're able to keep up with the Chiefs and go score for score with them, they do have a chance to win that game.
Yeah, they did play actually just a few weeks ago. It was week 17. It was in Cincinnati. The Bengals won that game 34-31. They overcame deficits of 21-7 and 28-14 in the process. You mentioned Joe Burrow being that dude. He certainly was in that game. He threw for 446 yards, 4 scores. I'll say again, 446 yards, 4 scores. Like that's a
Video
month
game
for,
numbers.
that's a month for Ben Roethlisberger in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase caught 11 balls for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. I'll say again, 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was one of the best wide receiver games we've ever seen. If anybody can match the Chiefs blow for blow, aside from maybe Josh Allen and the Bills, it's probably Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm expecting a game that'll play out much the same, but like we said, I have to favor Kansas City. I don't think I'm going out on a limb. I don't think anybody's baffled by that. But I don't know. I don't like the Bengals. I don't. But at the same time, this iteration of the Bengals is hard to dislike the way they've been playing. They're a joy to watch.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that's totally different. Absolutely. This week 17 game that you were talking about, where the Bengals did beat the Chiefs 34-31. This was also the same week that was our fantasy championship. And somebody, we won't mention any names, but somebody in the championship game decided to put Jamar Chase on his bench, ultimately lost the championship game in our league. More beer. Like you said, it's tough to dislike these Bengals. They've had a phenomenal run. The Chiefs are just, they've been there, they've done that. They are the new dynasty. They're the new New England Patriots, in my opinion. It's a tough out, especially because the Bengals have to go to Arrowhead and play in Kansas City. That place was freaking rocking yesterday. It's going to be even a more electric next week. Good luck to you, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep. And then on the other side of the coin, in the NFC title game, like we're expecting a lot of offensive fireworks between the Bengals and the Chiefs. The other one, the divisional rivalry reprised for the third time between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. I don't see the same thing playing out. I'm expecting a hotly contested, more defensive, field position-driven ball game. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be 10-6 or anything, but I think points will be at more of a premium the way these two play defensively and with how familiar they are with one another. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think this is going to be a great game. Like you mentioned, there is going to be more on the defensive side, I think, in this game than the AFC Championship game that we were just talking about. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, they both go into this. They're very familiar with each other. They were on staff in Washington for a long time with Matt LaFleur. Like you said, man, points are going to be at a premium in this one. It does give the Rams an opportunity to host a championship game one week, have a week off, and then host the Super Bowl the following week. That has not happened before. Did it happen? Actually, no, it did happen last year, right? With Tampa Bay, with the Raymond James Stadium. Okay, so I'm totally wrong. Again, you don't come here for the history. You come here for the yucks.
Like you said, these two teams are quite familiar with one another, but as of late, the edge goes to the 49ers, and it hasn't been close. The 49ers swept the Rams this year. They beat them 31-10 in November, and then again 27-24 in Week 18 to clinch a playoff spot. You and I went to the Steelers-Ravens game preceding that, so we kind of one-eyed watched that. I remember it being fun. I don't remember a lot of the specifics. I looked up some numbers to give us a little backing. The Rams had Matt Stafford's number in 2 games this year. He threw a combined 4 picks, and they sacked him 7 times. Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, those guys know how to generate pressure. They'll get him off his spot. So the yards and points aren't going to come easily, like we mentioned. The Rams running game got clamped in both those outings, combining for just 37 carries and 116 yards. They're going to need to find a way to run the ball better. We talk about Deebo Samuel. We will again coming up in just a bit, but let's talk about him here. His combined stats in those two games: one passing touchdown, 13 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 receptions, 192 yards, 1 touchdown. The Rams have a lot to figure out, a short time to do it. They got to figure out how to run the ball better. They got to figure out how to stop Deebo. They got to figure out how to protect Matt Stafford. Until proven otherwise, I have to favor the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is 6-0 against the Rams in the last 3 years. Until they get that monkey off their back, regardless of whether or not they're a wild card team, regardless of whether or not they're on the road, I think this favors the 49ers once again.
I think you might be right as well. Now, it is noteworthy that Matthew Stafford has been taking care of the ball more recently. You know, he had his struggles with some turnovers throughout the year, but he has been taking care of the ball at least a little bit more, minus the fumble at the end of the game that could have ultimately lost the game in Tampa Bay. You mentioned that the Rams do have to get their run game going. In the game yesterday against the Bucs, Cam Akers had 24 carries, but only 48 yards. They were able to keep him in check. So you're right. If they are going to be successful, they do have to run the ball, and that's going to ultimately open up the play action for their receivers as well. Going to be a whole lot of, here we go, fun to watch Championship Sunday next week.
Yep, looking forward to it. You mentioned fun. Let's jump right into the fun stuff. Enough pussyfooting around. We'll start with a signature game here. Hike it or spike it. Buffalo, Kansas City was the best playoff game ever. Hike it or spike it.
Well, we certainly haven't talked enough about that game already. Hell yes, it was the best game. I said that this should be our Super Bowl, or it might have been our Super Bowl. This was also one of the most flawless games of football that's been played. There was 4 total penalties in the game and no turnovers. This was at least the most fun playoff game that I've ever witnessed with my own eyes.
It's so hard to dispute that, but because we like to offer contrary takes here, I'm gonna, like I did last week, give you a nice Dak Prescott soft spike it.
God damn it. I did it again. I didn't say hike it. It's the whole point of the game. I hike it. Yes, it is the best game. I'm sorry. Go on.
It's all right. No worries. He hikes it. Like I said, I'm Dak Prescott soft spiking it. Why? Recency bias is my strongest reason. And a quick Google search reminded me of a lot of great playoff games of years past. Of course, there was Marshawn Lynch and the Beastquake, Frank Reich's nutty comeback for the Buffalo Bills against the Oilers, John Elway in the drive, Dwight Clark in the catch, all the Manning-Brady duels, Cardinals Packers that one year where they scored about 100 points. The Minneapolis Miracle, any Steelers postseason dub I'm partial towards. Listen, I can't, like I said, it's a soft spike. I can't very strongly say that it wasn't, but I just think there's been so many great games that it's hard to pick a one.
Yeah, you mentioned the Steelers postseason dub. I'm really surprised that you would throw that in there. We actually went to a Steelers Ravens, I believe it was the divisional round back in 2010. That was a whole lot of fun to watch. The Steelers actually came back in that game. You're right, there is probably recency bias, and we're still coming down off of the adrenaline that was gotten from that game. But again, like I said, a flawless game of football. If the overtime rules were different, which I don't know if we actually said they should be, I think they should be. I think that Josh Allen should have gotten a chance to get the football back. But if that game goes on any longer, it's going to end at like 135 to 132. It would have gone on for 7 days. It was awesome, but you're right. These other games certainly had their place in the playoffs as well.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to the overtime rules being changed. I don't like the college rules. We had to suffer through Penn State's 9 overtime game against Illinois, where both teams were allergic to the end zone. Obviously, that wouldn't have been the case here. I'm not opposed to it, although I do think maybe it should be reserved for the postseason where you're allowed to match touchdowns, because there is certainly an argument to be made for, well, your defense can make one stop or you don't deserve to win. So I see both sides of that argument. I'm playing the fence here as always. So I'm just going to pivot to the next thing because we don't make the rules.
So we do not make the rules. Nope.
So we'll have another one of our games here. It's start one, sit one, cut one. Now, we talked about Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill. Why every team left in this tourney has a stud wide receiver one. We're going to omit Cooper Kupp of the Rams because he lapped the field this year. The Triple Crown winner, is in a category of his own in the year 2022. So Cooper Kupp, shouts to you. You'd be the easy start in this. Of the three remaining wide receiver ones, start one, sit one, cut one. Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill. Go.
Yeah, I have done this exercise in my head, I think 6 different times, and each time I had a different start, a different sit, and a different cut. This is so hard to pick one of these guys that you essentially have to cut and leave out. I think I'm going to start Deebo Samuel. And again, I'm not super sold. I would start any of these guys, but with how versatile Deebo Samuel is, I mentioned before, he allows you to be in 3 different personnels when he's on the field. He can line up anywhere on the field. He just adds a dynamic aspect to your offense. A lot of times we see, running backs that are sort of, can be split out as slot receivers or can move around. Deebo Samuel is a receiver in nature, but like you said, he might be a better running back. I'm going to start Deebo Samuel. God. I'm going to sit Jamar Chase, and that is to say that I'm going to cut Tyreek Hill. I don't feel very good about it. In our meeting where I ultimately cut Tyreek Hill, I'm going to slip him my business card and tell him to stay in touch because it's not an easy cut for me. I think that just how electric Jamar Chase has been this year, how good his connection is with Joe Burrow. I mean, the dude had 13 touchdowns this year. He had 1,400 yards, 1,455 yards on 81 receptions. He's got to be on my team. But then to cut Tyreek Hill, damn it. Sorry, Tyreek. You know what? You're the odd man out. I got to stick with it. I'm going to start Deebo Samuel. I'm sitting Jamar Chase. I'm cutting Tyreek Hill.
I don't have much to dispute there. Again, you can't go wrong. I wrestled with this as well. We were chopping it up via Snap message and saying, I couldn't even figure out whether or not I should omit Cooper Kupp, or if Cooper Kupp was included, if he would be an automatic start. I'm not going to jump into that. We're going to go with the 3 listed, and I'm going to join you. And this was very, very tough, but I'm going to cut Tyreek Hill. I don't like doing it. He just didn't appear to be, I don't know, as explosive or as transcendent a talent as either of these guys look to be this past season. So again, recency bias playing a part. Tyreek Hill is on a Hall of Fame trajectory, no slight to him. But if you're asking me who I want this year, between those 3, it's not Tyreek Hill. And actually, it's not Deebo Samuel either. Begrudgingly, I'm going to sit him. Deebo, don't get me wrong, is a playmaker. His 1,400 yards and his 14 combined touchdowns this year, actually 15, including the passing score. Deebo returns kicks. He's everything you want in a playmaker, but just in terms of pure wide receiver, I don't think he's put anything on tape that was as good as what Jamar Chase did this year. So I'm sitting Deebo, which means I'm going to start Jamar Chase. Again, just in 1 year's worth of tape, he has been transcendent. He leaps off the tape. The plays he makes, the way he can high point the ball, the way he can make that back shoulder catch look effortless. Everything he does, he's so goddamn smooth on the football field. Like I said, it's hard to hate this year's Bengals. Jamar Chase is one of the big reasons why he is a pleasure to the eyes. See the way I spun that? I didn't say it. So that's good, right? Yeah. So tough one, but I'm going to start Jamar Chase. He had a monumental rookie season, and the arrow only seems to be pointing up. I'm going to stop babbling and move on to our last one before we get on out of here. A little more fun, a little more food oriented, because Hayden and I are both fat at heart. Start one, sit one, cut one. Pizza Hut, Domino's, Little Caesars. What do you got?
Yeah, this one is more for me. The state of Maryland does not have great pizza, and growing up in the pizza capital of the world, that makes me kind of sad. So these are all options that I have. There are a few pizza places around here. They do have their spot, but with Pizza Hut, you are getting breadsticks. You got the stuffed crust pizza. I worked at a Pizza Hut in college. That pretty much fed me throughout college. So I do have a soft spot in my heart for Pizza Hut. Domino's is open late. It's cheap. There's one right down the street from me. You could use the app to order, so you don't actually have to interact with human beings, which is something that I'm about. And then Little Caesars is hot and ready. It's cheap. You have on here the pretzel crust. The pretzel crust, John, is absolutely delicious with the cheese sauce. I am going to start Domino's. Not super sold on it. I do typically not get their regular pizza. I have this one where I get a thin crust. You get the Alfredo sauce on it. You put chicken and bacon on it. It's pretty delicious. So I'm going to start Domino's. I'm going to sit Pizza Hut. Like I said, work there, has a soft spot in my heart. The wings are actually pretty good there. I know a lot of folks do not necessarily care for Pizza Hut. That again, I don't have a lot of options here. And I'm going to cut Little Caesars. Never really go there.
Excuse me, I belched again. I'm sorry.
Can't believe anybody listens to this.
I don't know why they would. Anyway, for me, I'm going to differ slightly. I'm going to start Pizza Hut. Maybe it's because I have fond memories of it. I love the lunch buffet, which doesn't exist anymore. There's no Pizza Huts around me. So I think that's part of it. I long for it. I pine for it. That stuffed crust, as you mentioned, not an option at any of the joints around here. The breadstick slap. Pizza Hut is kind of like a hot, sordid love affair that I fantasize about. I want it back, but I'll never get it. So I'm going to start Pizza Hut. I'm going to sit Domino's. It's old reliable. It's open at 1 a.m. Like you said, you don't have to interact with anybody when you order it. You can even leave the notes now to say, just leave it on the porch. Don't bother me, right? So Domino's is reliable, consistent. It's never going to blow you away, but it's there in a pinch. Little Caesars, easy cut. It tastes like poor people. It tastes like $5 pizza. It's Little Caesars. It's an easy cut here. There's no Tyreek Hill in this argument. Little Caesars, see ya.
Yeah, this one was certainly easier to cut Little Caesars than Tyreek Hill. Little Caesars didn't have 111 receptions this year either.
Nope, never will. Anyways, until next time, we like pizza. We like football. Catch you later.
Fun to watch.